All right, YouTube universe. Welcome back to the channel. Yeah, welcome back to the Naked Truth. If it's your first time here, welcome aboard. If you're a repeat veteran, welcome back. I appreciate you coming back to the channel. So what do we have for you today? We have another Larry Legend drop. It's been about 40 years, almost to the day, 40 years since Larry Legend retired in 93. Yet here we are. We're still talking about him. He gets millions of views, just like Michael Jordan and some of the other greats out there. So, courtesy of the Basketball Time Machine, he's going to dig right into that. Why is Larry still so popular today? So we're going to take that ride together, all right? But before we get started, I need you to do some things for me. First of all, I need you to drop a quick like on the video before you bounce out and take off to your next reaction video, all right? What that does is it helps the gerbils in that YouTube analytic to get this video out to more people and let them decide if they want to watch it, all right? Now, I would love for you to also comment, make some suggestions, and if I've earned it in any way, shape, or form, I would appreciate your subscription. So, let's just get right into it, boys and girls. Why is Larry Bird still so popular?
Then this.
Here we go.
An absolutely
Enjoy.
breathtaking flying follow-up of his own missed 20-footer by who else? Larry Bird.
Hey guys, this is Dominique Wilkins.
Hey, this is Sean Kemp.
This is Gary Payton.
Hey, this is Pau Gasol.
NBA fans, what's up? This is Vince Carter here.
Hey, what's up? This is Matt Barnes. If you're an old school NBA fan like I am, make sure you check out the Basketball Time Machine with my man Sean David.
Yeah, I'm subscribed. You too.
Hello and good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Basketball Time Machine. My name is Sean David. Thanks for tuning in. Let's talk some old school NBA basketball.
Do it.
In today's episode, I want to talk to you guys about why Larry Bird is still so popular, even though he ended his career so many years ago. But before we dive into today's episode, let's take a quick look at the sponsor of today's video.
Let's do it. Come on. Here we go.
So, it's kind of interesting to see why I came up with this topic for today's video. I think like 2 weeks ago, I uploaded a video which was called NBA Legends Explain Why Larry Bird Was So Good or Better Than Other Players. And the video had over 1.6 million views in less than 2 weeks.
Nice.
And that just shows how popular Larry Bird still is. And we have to remember that Larry retired, in 1992? So we're talking about 30 years ago. So I came up with the topic and I thought, okay, why is he still so popular? And I have several reasons that I want to talk to you guys about. Now, the first reason that I have in mind is how other NBA legends are still talking about Larry Bird. And I'm talking about the guys who actually played against him. If it is a Magic Johnson, if it is a Dr. J, if it is a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they all say that he is one of the best or maybe the best player they ever played against.
Who was the best player you played against?
Yeah. The best guy I played against might have been, Larry Bird, someone like that.
How good was
Michael
Bird?
Jordan.
I don't think people
don't
look at him and think,
Yeah,
oh,
they
he's
said,
a white
no,
guy,
he's
slow guy.
a chubby white guy. He wore us out, man. Because this muscle here, the one between his ears,
Yeah.
that was his.
So, by the way, who calling Larry a chubby white guy? Larry was never a fat boy. He may not be quote unquote athletic, but he wasn't Charles Barkley. He wasn't the round mound of rebound, if you know what I mean.
Best, because he made the three-pointers and he had assists and rebounded, steals. He was always at the right place at the right time on the court. One of the great players I had the opportunity to play against.
Now, when you have legends like that saying those incredible things of you, obviously, for the younger generation who have never seen Larry Bird play, they have to believe that, okay, if those guys say that he's great, he must have been great. And rightfully so. For guys like me and most of you guys who watch Larry Bird play, I mean, we know that this guy was really, really a bad boy.
And that's what I enjoy, too. Of course, I, like you, look at other reactors and those that react to Larry, and I love seeing the younger generation react to Larry because they have this, predetermined thought in their mind of what he was or who he was. I've heard, oh, I thought he could only shoot. I heard, oh, he could pass a little bit. Oh, yeah, what was he, like 6'4"? You hear all of these things, and then when they finally sit down and they see the legend rocking and rolling, and you see their eyes light up, and they just look at the screen and go, I did not know this man was like that. That's when you know greatness.
But coming back to the topic, why is he still so popular? It's not only that legends talk about Larry Bird in the highest regards, but it's also that he was able to do things that he probably never should have been able to. I mean, how can you be such a sensational player, win 3 MVPs straight in a row, if you're not fast, if you're not quick, if you can't jump high? Larry Bird basically defined the odds. And
because ultimately, if you are as skilled and knowledgeable as Larry Bird, the athleticism, you can kind of take that out. I said again, most of the game, especially in the 80s, you're talking about a half-court game. You dribble it up, maybe Robert McHale goes into the post, or Larry's trying to come off a few screens and curls. Whatever it may be, you're in a half-court set now. I don't care how fast you are. Your speed is negated. Now, if we're just doing wind sprints up and down the court, yeah, Larry's not beating anybody in a wind sprint. But in a half-court game, you're talking 1-2 dribbles, a pass, shot. Larry's more than fast enough to do that. He had a very, very, very good first step, faster than you would think. And again, you had to honor everything that he could possibly do. So if he pump faked you, you got to bite. And if you bite, he's gone. That's it.
And basically was a very, very rare specimen. We're talking about guys like Michael Jordan, for example, who probably, in my opinion, was one of the best athletes who ever entered the NBA. He was able to do things that no other player was able to do. And Larry Bird was basically in the same kind of category, not from an athletic standpoint, but being able to do things.
But you could do the opposite. How many people in the NBA, how many ultra athletes were there or have there been in the NBA that really never amounted to anything? Yeah, there are guys that could jump out of the gym, do all these wonderful things, take off from half court and dunk it, for crying out loud. But they never amounted to anything. Why? Because they were lacking in skill level and IQ.
Things that he never should have been able to do. If it is being able to shoot over everybody, doing those crazy step backs, having even some moves that were super athletic, even though he was not athletic. It's just mind-boggling how this guy was able to be so dominant without lacking so many attributes. Then another reason that I really believe is a major point where Larry Bird was, or still is, so popular is his trash talking.
Yeah.
I mean, in today's NBA, where you basically get suspended for a couple of games if you only look the wrong way at a certain player, Larry Bird was a guy who could take a player out of his game by trash talking. And some of the things that he has done are so unbelievably great. I mean, telling a guy what he's going to do, like, oh, I'm going to shoot the ball from there. I'm going to run around the screen. I'm going to take the ball there. I'm going to shoot it in your face, and it's going to only be 1 second left on the shot clock. Saying those things.
There's a classic one, I think Olden Polynice says it. Larry gets the ball. He looked over at their bench and says, I'm going to take 2 dribbles right, crossover left. That's exactly what he did. Pull up, jump shot, and then just looks back at the bench like, I told you I was going to do it. What'd you think was going to happen? Love it.
And actually being able to back those things up. I mean, who does that in the modern day NBA? And even back then, when we still had so many great trash talkers, there weren't many guys who were doing something like that. And Larry Bird did it countless times. If you go on YouTube and check how many players can actually attest to that and have their own Larry Bird moment where they say, okay, he did that to me. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of stories. So hundreds of stories, Larry Bird saying what he's going to do.
Hundreds of stories, and I dare you to look up how many Hall of Famers he trash talked and did stuff to.
And actually backing it up just shows what an incredible player he was.
But when you played against somebody, Do you remember? Well, you had the Bird Night.
I had the
in
Bird
New
Night.
Orleans.
Yeah, that was a tough night, man. The biggest argument that night is, well, you only scored 6 on me.
But nobody was guarding Bird, were they?
Well, we were trying.
You were trying to.
No, but when a guy is literally coming up the court, calling his shots, and Bird talked a lot of trash.
And that's in New Orleans.
That's in New Orleans. In that game, we're on the free throw line, and he literally says, left side over across the 3, and you're listening to him. That's a tough feeling.
Hey, just quickly out there, put it in the comments below. Any of you out there run into anybody like that, even in your, local gym or anything, where they would just tell you everything they're going to do to you and do it, or just talk smack and then do it? It's rare.
Then there's another thing that we have to talk about, and this is something which is a kind of a sensitive topic, but I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. Now, back in the 1980s, the NBA was a little bit more, or the world in general was a little bit more racist as it is today. And back in the days, there were some players who said, Larry Bird is only getting this reputation and this hype because he's a white player. And they used to say that until they played against Larry Bird. If it was a Dennis Rodman, who I had on my show, who said that Larry Bird was one of the best players he ever played against, but obviously he had this interview where he said Larry Bird was only hyped that much because he was a white player. Cedric Maxwell, who was...
As we know, more recently, the wonderful Dennis Rodman said if Larry was playing, he might have to play in Europe. He couldn't even play in today's NBA, which is one of the most ridiculous statements.
The teammate of Larry Bird, who openly said that he believed that Larry Bird was overhyped until Larry Bird actually became a Celtic and whooped Cedric Maxwell's ass. So hearing from so many black guys who changed their mind about Larry Bird, to me that's great, because that shows that those players can give credit where credit is due, but it also does a lot to the legacy of Larry Bird. But that's just
game
a
recognizes
tiny
game.
point. I mean, there's some other players in the same kind of category of Larry Bird in terms of being a legend even many years later. If you check on YouTube for Pistol Pete Maravich, for example, the guy has been out of the NBA for I don't know how many years, 40-something years, and the guy unfortunately died so many years ago. But he also has millions of views on YouTube. Why? Because his legacy and his legend lives on. And there are just not that many players who have that legacy. I mean, Michael Jordan obviously is probably the most searched NBA player on YouTube of all time, even more than LeBron James and those guys. But obviously, MJ being the GOAT, it's natural that many guys are searching him up on YouTube, especially with the younger generation. They want to know what we old school fans are talking about.
Yes.
But Larry Bird, to me, when it comes to a player from the 1980s, Larry Bird, in my opinion, is the most popular player of the 1980s when we talk about a player that has a legacy which is still going on even until today.
Red Auerbach called this the greatest play I've ever seen.
I want the ball because I'm supposed to produce in situations. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, but I want the ball in a crucial situation.
Want the ball.
And that's the other forward from Indiana State, 6'9", Larry Bird.
All right, you guys, that was it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And even more important, click the notifications button so you always get notified once I upload a new video. See you next time on the Basketball Time Machine.
All right, my friend. All right, everybody. I echo his sentiments before you bounce out of this video. Don't forget to like, drop a comment, and most specifically, subscribe to the channel for future drops, all right? We're going to cut it off right there so we don't make this any longer than we need to make it. So until the next Larry Legend drop, I want you all to have a great day. Be well, stay healthy, and until next time, the naked truth. We're out.